Only 1% do this, and their house always looks perfect. Yes, you heard right. While most people live trapped in disorder, tripping over objects that shouldn't be there, fighting with drawers that don't close because they're crammed, and hiding wrinkled clothes in any corner when someone announces they're coming to visit, there is a very small, almost secret group of people who do something different. That 1% does not settle for surviving in the midst of chaos. That 1% manages to make their house, even if it's small, even if they have children, even if they work all day, always look impeccable, as if it were ready to receive guests at any moment. And today I'm going to reveal exactly what they do, because if you got this far, it's because you're tired of living trapped in a house that doesn't reflect the effort you put in every day. Because let's be honest, how many times have you felt ashamed of your own house? You want to invite a friend, but you look around and see dirty dishes piled up, grocery bags thrown in a corner, shoes stacked by the door, the sofa cushions flattened as if they had survived a battle. Your family doesn't help, your children leave toys everywhere, your partner takes off their socks and leaves them lying around, and it seems that it's always you who is fighting against an endless wave of things out of place. And the worst part, even though you clean, even though you tidy, even though you make an effort, the next day everything goes back to the same. It's exhausting. It's frustrating. It's as if your house became a trap that never lets you truly rest. But here is the truth no one tells you. You don't need to be a slave to order. You don't need to dedicate hours and hours every day for your house to look perfect. You only need to know the strategies that the 1% who achieve it apply, those simple, practical actions that seem small but change the whole environment. Today I'm going to show you those 8 useful things that, if you apply them, will allow you to transform your home into a place where you truly feel proud, calm, at peace, and most importantly, without feeling that you spend your entire life cleaning. The first thing that 1% does is brutally simple, but most don't do it. They get rid of everything that doesn't serve, and they do it constantly. And I emphasize the word constantly, because it's not something you do once in your life and that's it, it's a repeated habit. That 1% doesn't accumulate Tupperware without lids hoping that someday the missing lid will appear. They don't keep empty jars, because maybe I'll use them later. They don't keep clothes that no longer fit, waiting to lose weight or for the fashion to come back. They understand a truth that hurts, but that is the foundation of a perfect house. Every object occupies physical space and mental space. Everything you have in your house requires energy, attention, and time. And if it's extra, it becomes an invisible burden that steals your peace. Think about it. How many times did you open a drawer and find objects you didn't even remember you had? How many times did you try to store something new and couldn't find space because everything was occupied by useless things? That is proof that it's not your lack of order that's the problem, it's the excess of things. Because here comes a hard hit. If your house is full of useless things, it will never look tidy, even if you spend the whole day cleaning. The disorder is not in the lack of cleaning, it's in the accumulation. The 1% applies a golden rule: less is more. Fewer unnecessary things, more air. Fewer accumulated objects, more space. Less trash disguised as memories, more calm. And they do it mercilessly, because they know that attachment is the biggest enemy. When they see an object, they don't ask themselves, what if I need it someday? They ask, do I use it? Do I enjoy it? Does it have a place in my life today? If the answer is no, it goes. That's simple. I'll give you a clear example: Tupperware. Most houses have drawers full of Tupperware without lids, lids without Tupperware, or recycled plastic containers that are never used. Every time you want to store food, you lose minutes searching for combinations that don't exist. That generates frustration, disorder, and even occupies more space than it should. What the 1% does is keep a limited set of complete Tupperware, identical, stackable. The rest goes straight to the trash. Result: an orderly, practical, functional drawer. The same with clothing. We keep jeans we haven't worn in years, blouses we no longer like, dresses we might wear again someday. And meanwhile, the closet turns into a monster full of fabric that occupies space, steals time, and gives us the feeling that we have nothing to wear. The 1% eliminates that burden. They review the closet each season, donate what they don't use, keep only what they truly wear. The result is not an empty closet, it's a useful closet, where every garment makes sense. And let's not even talk about empty jars, old cables, broken appliances, ornaments that no longer match, yellowed magazines from years ago. They are things that seem harmless, but little by little they turn your house into a museum of disorder. Every unnecessary object is a brick that blocks the possibility of having a home in peace. That's why that 1% repeats it like a mantra: do not accumulate. And the most interesting thing is the emotional effect. Every time you take out something that doesn't serve, your house not only gains physical space, it gains air, light, and calm. It's as if you freed your mind along with the object. Because external disorder reflects internal disorder. And when your house breathes, you also breathe. It's no coincidence that many homemakers who start to let go of things say they feel relief, as if they had taken a weight off their shoulders. Perfection is not in cleaning more, it's in having less of what gets in the way. That's the truth that 99% ignores. You can spend hours mopping, sweeping, dusting, but if your house is full of useless objects, it will never look in order. Instead, when you eliminate what's extra, even if you clean less, your house always looks more organized. Because it's not about making the furniture shine, it's about letting the space breathe. The second thing they do is put everything in its place immediately. And even though it sounds almost childish, this is where most people fail. Because we believe that nothing happens if we leave the shoes by the entrance for a little while, if we leave the grocery bags on the table until I'm free, if we leave the coat on the chair because I'll hang it later. The problem is that that later rarely comes, and each of those small oversights becomes the great monster of disorder. The 1% understands that every object out of place is an invitation to chaos, so they don't negotiate with the laziness of the moment, they do it instantly. Think about this, putting something away takes seconds, but if you leave it for later, you'll see it over and over every time you pass by it. It will remind you that it's a pending task, it will steal mental energy, and in the end, it will cost you more effort because it will add up to other things you also postponed. One glass on the table doesn't bother much, but 5 forgotten glasses make your dining room look like a bar after a party. One pair of shoes in the hallway doesn't draw attention, but 5 pairs make your entryway look like a storage room. That 1% knows this, and that's why they apply the 2-minute rule. If something can be done in less than 2 minutes, they do it immediately. Put the milk in the refrigerator, hang the coat, take the plate to the dishwasher. They are actions so quick they don't even interrupt your routine, but they prevent the house from turning into a battlefield. Because the real enemy of order is not the lack of time, it's accumulation. And when you don't let things accumulate, order maintains itself almost effortlessly. The third action of the 1% is to use strategic organizers in every corner. And we're not talking about spending fortunes on sophisticated accessories or turning your house into a design store. It's something much simpler and more powerful, giving a home to each category of objects so that nothing is left loose or mixed. Because what destroys visual perfection is not always dirt, but the chaos of things without a defined place. 99% of people open a drawer and what they find is a battlefield. Socks mixed with underwear, belts tangled, cosmetics rolling among papers and coins, cables that get confused with old chargers. That chaos not only steals space, it steals time and energy every time you look for something. In contrast, the 1% opens the same drawer and sees order. Small boxes that divide categories, separators that prevent everything from piling up, everything in its place. They don't lose 5 minutes looking for a lipstick, a key, or a charger. They know exactly where it is, because every object has a home. In the closet, the same thing happens. For the 99%, it's normal to see t-shirts piled up, pants mixed with jackets, shoes thrown on the floor. The 1% uses separators, boxes, and specific hangers. They group by categories: t-shirts with t-shirts, pants with pants, seasonal clothes stored in boxes, shoes in organizers. This way, it not only looks nicer, but it's also much more practical to get dressed. And here is the detail: a well-organized closet feels bigger, even if physically it isn't. In the bathroom, most people have shampoo bottles, creams, soaps, and accessories scattered everywhere, occupying every inch of the shelf or the tub. The 1% uses baskets, trays, and small containers. Each family member has their own basket, each product has a place. The result is a bathroom that always looks like a hotel, even if it's small. And it's not magic, it's strategic organization. In the kitchen, the difference is even more evident. 99% have spices in different jars, sometimes with torn labels, sometimes piled up in a corner of the cabinet. Looking for salt, oregano, or cumin becomes a mission impossible. The 1% solves it with identical jars, well labeled and arranged on a Lazy Susan or in a tiered organizer. There is no confusion, there is no chaos. And when someone opens the pantry, what they see is not a jumble of containers, but a harmonious and orderly collection. That simple decision makes the kitchen always look cleaner, even if you didn't vacuum that day. And the papers? Oh, the papers. Magazines, receipts, bills, appliance manuals, certificates, notes from the children's school. For most people, they are spread throughout the house, on the dining table, in the entryway, in drawers that no longer close. The 1% controls them with folders, binders, and boxes. Important documents in a safe and accessible place, temporary papers in a specific container, and the useless ones straight to the trash. No endless piles that transmit visual and mental chaos. The most interesting thing is the psychological impact. A house with strategic organizers not only looks tidy, it feels lighter. Because chaos isn't jumping into your eyes at every corner. Everything flows with logic, with harmony, and that harmony transmits peace. And here is something key: when your house is organized with these systems, even the other family members cooperate more. Children know where their toys go, your partner knows where to put the tools, and the entire weight doesn't fall on you. The 1% doesn't waste time fighting disorder because their system prevents it. They don't depend on willpower, they depend on strategy. They know that if everything has a home, it never gets lost, it never gets in the way, and it never generates chaos. That is the true power of organizers, not just to tidy, but to free your life from repetitive disorder. The fourth thing is to keep surfaces clear. This is one of the most powerful and, at the same time, most ignored tricks. Because most people think disorder is in the corners, in the drawers, or in the closets. But the truth is that what most dirty a house visually are cluttered surfaces. They are like the visible face of the home, the first thing you see when you enter and the last thing you remember when you leave. A table with stacked papers conveys neglect, even if the floor was just mopped. A kitchen countertop with bags, dishes, and utensils gives a sense of chaos, even if you spent hours cleaning. A desk with tangled cables and loose objects looks like a battlefield, even if you have everything organized in the drawers. That 1% knows that the human eye focuses on surfaces, because they are at eye level. And so, every night, they spend just 5 minutes clearing them. They put away what doesn't belong, throw away what's extra, arrange what should stay. It's a habit so small it seems insignificant, but the impact is enormous. Imagine waking up the next day and seeing your dining table clean, your countertop clear, your desk free of unnecessary things. The feeling of order and freshness is immediate, even if the rest of the house isn't perfect. Here comes the psychological trick. A full surface sends the brain the message that there are pending tasks, that there are still things to resolve. In contrast, a clean surface tells the brain that everything is under control, that you can relax. That's why, when surfaces are clear, the whole house is perceived as tidy, even if you have a hidden drawer full of papers you haven't organized yet. The 1% doesn't complicate things, they don't wait to have a free hour to organize everything. They apply micro-actions. Did you pass by the table and see a paper? You put it away or throw it out. Did you finish using a charger? You wrap it and put it away, you don't leave it lying around. Did you buy something and leave it on the counter? You put it in its place before night falls. These gestures seem small, but repeated every day they build a house that always looks tidy. The fifth action is a secret weapon. They always have an emergency quick clean kit. A microfiber cloth at hand, a multi-purpose spray on each floor of the house, wipes for an unexpected spill. Because they don't wait for the stain to become a problem, they attack it in the moment. This habit prevents dirt from accumulating, and it also makes any corner ready to show in case a surprise guest arrives. The sixth thing they apply is strategic lighting. And here's the secret: you can have the cleanest house in the world, but if the light is poor, your effort is lost, because the space will look dull, sad, and lifeless. The human eye associates light with freshness, with spaciousness, and with energy. That's why that 1% understands that lighting is not a luxury, it's a tool for visual order. Every morning they open the curtains, not out of habit, but because they know that natural light transforms the home. When the sun comes in, surfaces shine, colors look more vivid, dust is less noticeable, and the entire environment seems happier. Even a small room, illuminated by natural light, is perceived as larger and cozier. It's as if suddenly your home breathed. But not everything depends on the sun. There are dark corners that, even if they're tidy, look neglected. That 1% places lamps in strategic points. A warm light in the living room to give a sense of home, a table lamp in the bedroom to create a relaxing environment, a directed light in the kitchen to work comfortably. They aren't big investments. You don't need an interior designer or expensive lamps. It's enough to place a light in the right place for a space to go from boring to perfect in seconds. And here comes the psychological detail. Darkness makes objects look heavier, corners seem dirty even if they aren't, spaces feel more closed. Light, on the other hand, tricks the brain and makes it feel that everything is under control, that the place is more spacious and cleaner than it really is. It's like a natural filter that improves the house without additional effort. The 1% doesn't limit themselves to turning on the lamp when it gets dark. They make lighting a daily habit. They check each space, asking themselves, what can I do to give this place more light? They open curtains, clean the windows so the sun comes in better, use mirrors that reflect and multiply the brightness, change old bulbs for LEDs that illuminate more and consume less. They are small adjustments that generate a giant impact on the perception of the house. A clean but poorly lit house feels dull. A moderately tidy but well-lit house feels cozy, cheerful, and perfect. That is the difference that strategic lighting makes. It turns an ordinary place into a space where you truly want to be. And the best part is that it doesn't require money or constant effort, just discipline in opening the curtains every morning and choosing the right light points. The seventh action, and here I confess this is my favorite, is the famous final touch. That small detail that seems insignificant, but changes everything. Cushions arranged, a folded blanket, a vase with flowers, a scented candle. You don't need to have expensive or extravagant things. A single detail is enough to tell the brain, this space is cared for, this space is in order. It's the trick that makes guests say, how beautiful your house looks, even if you didn't deep clean. And the eighth thing that 1% does is have short but daily routines. Here is the real secret that almost nobody applies. Most people live in an exhausting cycle. They let the whole week accumulate, postpone everything with the excuse that I'll clean on Saturday, and when Saturday arrives they face a mountain of work so large that it steals half a day, all their energy, and even their good mood. And the worst part, the next day, the house gets messy again, and the cycle starts again. That 1% broke that chain and did it with something as simple as dedicating 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night to putting the house in order. Just 20 minutes a day, but repeated with discipline, that make the difference between a house that always seems collapsed and a house that always looks under control. And here comes the most important part. They aren't cleaning marathons, they are short, light routines, easy to fulfill even on the most tiring days. Think about what the morning routine is like for 99%. Wake up in a hurry, leave the bed unmade, run to the kitchen and leave the breakfast dishes on the table because I'll wash them later, leave the house with the feeling that you're leaving behind chaos. That generates stress, even if you're not aware of it. Instead, that 1% dedicates just 10 minutes after getting up. They make the bed, put away the clothes that were left out, wash or put the breakfast dishes in the dishwasher, open the curtains to let the light in. None of that takes more than 10 minutes, but the effect is brutal. They leave the house knowing that when they return, they'll be welcomed by a clean, clear, bright place. The same thing happens at night. Before going to sleep, instead of collapsing into bed and leaving everything as it is, they dedicate another 10 minutes. They pick up what was left on the surfaces, put away the toys, fold a blanket, clean the table, wash 2 or 3 dishes that were left pending. It's a perfect closure to the day because it allows them to wake up in a tidy place, not in the middle of chaos that steals energy from the first minute of the morning. This habit seems insignificant, but it's transformative. Because disorder does not accumulate. And when disorder doesn't accumulate, you never have to face those huge cleanings that exhaust you and make you feel like the house is a burden. It's like brushing your teeth. If you do it every day, it's 2 minutes that save you huge problems later. If you don't, the consequence is a disaster. The 1% also understands something the 99% ignores. Short routines are sustainable. They don't depend on having free hours, they don't depend on waiting for the weekend, they don't depend on there being time. They are so short there's always room to fulfill them. Even if you're tired, even if you had a hard day, 10 minutes are possible. And those 10 minutes are what save your house from collapse. Furthermore, these short routines create a cumulative effect. Each day you fulfill them, your house improves a little more. After a week, you no longer have forgotten corners. After a month, order is natural. And after a year, your house is so under control it seems like you had extra help, when in reality the only thing you did was be consistent in those 20 daily minutes. And here comes the most powerful part. It's not just the house that changes, it's you. Because you start to feel that you are in control, that disorder doesn't dominate you, that you are capable of keeping your home under your own rules. That feeling of control gives you calm, pride, and peace of mind. You no longer feel guilty because your house is a mess. You no longer feel embarrassed if someone knocks on the door without warning. Your daily routine supports you, protects you, and turns your home into the refuge you always wanted. In short, those short but daily routines are the vaccine against disorder. They are the silent habit that makes the difference between living in a house that always demands more from you, that steals your energy and makes you feel like you never get to everything, and living in a house that always gives you calm, that embraces you and fills you with pride every time you cross the door. They are not enormous sacrifices, they are small repeated actions, and that's where the magic lies, in consistency, not in perfection. Up to this point, I have already shown you the 8 things that make a house always look perfect. But the most important thing is not that you listen to them or that you say what good advice, but that you start putting them into practice today. Because, let's be honest, it's useless to keep accumulating tips, to store them in your memory or write them down in a notebook, if you don't take the step to apply them. The transformation of your home doesn't come from information, it comes from action. And here I want you to keep a truth we sometimes forget. You don't need to be a millionaire, you don't need to have a giant house with extra space, nor an army of helpers who work for you. It's not about unlimited resources, it's about smart habits. The only thing you need is to apply with discipline what that 1% who seem to have life under control does. And when you do, your house will stop being a heavy burden on your shoulders and will become that refuge you always dreamed of, a place where you truly feel happy, calm, and proud to call home.